Syndicated source material.
It's another episode of Syndicated Source Material coming at you once again. So, this week, we're getting ready to go into the 20th episode that aired on the Radulich in Broadcasting Network of the Source Material Comics podcast. This is G.I. Joe versus the Transformers from 2003, published by Devil's Due and Image. It's a 6-issue series, crossover of some of the most iconic toy properties out there from the 80s. So this one was recorded February 9th, 2015. And I know that because I had mentioned recording on the evening of my son's birthday, his 5th birthday. So, yeah, February 9th, 2015 is when this aired. The original length of the episode's an hour and 48 minutes. I got it down to about an hour and 5. A big portion of what I cut out was some old plugs and a story about some long boxes I bought off Craigslist for a decent price. So I'm skipping episode 19 for right now because that was a live discussion episode where Ronnie, Adams, and I talked about the news that Marvel dropped there in 2015 about the Secret Wars event that was coming up. At some point, I'll get the discussion episodes together and release those. But for right now, we'll just stick with the episodes dealing with books and getting those onto the W2M network. I left the lead-in music for this one and left the commercials in as well for each property, and the outro Fensler G.I. Joe PSA, since I felt those fit in so well with the podcast, I did not want to take them out. There's definitely some audio issues after the first break where my son came downstairs and I took him upstairs. I let the commercials play. They went on for about 5 minutes, and then I came back downstairs, and I don't think I put the mic on my headset back down to where it should be. So you can hear me. I ran it through some programs to amplify the audio, but you're going to be able to tell a difference. And if it gets too annoying, I don't blame you for turning the episode off. This is just one of those episodes I felt necessary to get onto the network for historical purposes, I guess. All right, well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into the episode. This is G.I. Joe versus the Transformers from 2003.
He's always there, fighting for freedom over land and air. G.I. Joe! G.I. Joe there!
G.I. Joe is the code name for America's daring, highly trained Special Mission Force. Its purpose, to defend human freedom against Cobra, a ruthless terrorist organization determined to rule the world.
He never gives up, he'll stay till the fight's won. G.I. Joe there! G.I. Joe! G.I. Joe!
All right. Man, oh man, what a way to open up the 20th episode of Source Material. My friends, welcome back. I am your host, as always, Jesse Starcher, and, man, as if you couldn't tell at the beginning there, we're going to be talking about one of my, I don't know about you, but one of my favorite toys from, toy lines, I guess I should say, and cartoons from back in the 80s, and I don't know if I watched much in the 90s. I can tell you definitely the mid to late 80s. I was watching G.I. Joe and Transformers as much as I could right after school, going home, and I can't remember what channel they were on. I can't remember if it was Fox or where exactly they were at, but usually you could catch them on there, and sometimes back to back, which is awesome. But one of the best things that you could do as a kid, if you were lucky enough to get those toys, if you were lucky enough to get a good bit of G.I. Joes, good bit of Transformers, what were you going to do but have a tremendous battle between the G.I. Joes and the Transformers? Two cartoons that were totally separate, but these toy lines, of course, purposely made into cartoons in order to sell more toys, and there's no doubt about that. But you had this, you played and you had these tremendous battles against these two cartoons that you never would see together on the same screen. You wanted to see it, but you never got a chance to. So all you had was your imagination, and that sometimes was all it took, and that was the most fun about it. But along come the medium of comics. As I've said before in the previous crossovers that we've had on here, where we had Superman, Spider-Man, you got to see something in comic books that you wouldn't get to see anywhere else. One of the coolest things was G.I. Joe versus Transformers. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a more recent story arc, one that took place in 2003. From what I've seen, I know that there has been, I think Marvel, when they had these properties, they did a crossover themselves. Can't say that I've read it. Guarantee it's going to be on the plate at some point. But when I saw these particular comics, first off, it's 2003. The storylines, I'm sure, whoever had a hand in bringing the story to us, I had faith in it. It was a property I hoped that somebody would handle well. The publishers were Image and Devil's Due. I believe Devil's Due had a big hand in G.I. Joe, because I know I've got a few from Devil's Due, some G.I. Joe issues. Image, I don't know if they had the Transformers property, but I can tell you the Image logo is all over these comics. So Image brought to us G.I. Joe versus Transformers in 2003. I've had this for quite a while, and I thought, man, I want to read it, and I want to bring it to our source material listeners. So that is what we're going to be covering tonight, the story arc between G.I. Joe versus Transformers. Let me just go ahead here real quick and tell you the creative team behind this book. The story is written by a guy by the name of Josh Blaylock. Pencils are by Mike Miller, and the inks are by Armando Darute. I hope I pronounced that correctly. There's two R's in there, so I know I got to roll it. But those are the inks. And the only reason I'm going to go ahead and give props to the colorist here, too, because looking at this comic, the colors was done by Link Studio. The colors, just the whole art of this whole book is beautiful. If you get a chance to look at these covers, wow. This is real crisp art. That's about the best way I can describe it. I don't know. It felt like a cartoon almost. It wasn't as cartoony as some of the stuff that I've seen done, but this felt like you were going into the cartoon and seeing these two properties come together. Like I said, first issue came out in June of 2003. Devil's Due Publishing, Image. The inkers, I think, trade off. I said inks Armando Darute. I think he leaves at some point in the middle of this, but again, you can't really tell much. I'll give props to the other inker here once we get to him. Okay, so here we go. We're going to go ahead and hop into the first issue. Okay, now we open up with it looks like decayed Transformers just kind of laying there. You can tell that they've been aged and they're lying there motionless. And each panel, there's something changing, like there's light coming into this room where these Transformers are just laying there. And we find out that it's Cobra Commander and Cobra who have stumbled upon the Transformers in this state of rest. Now, Cobra Commander is checking these things out. I don't know how they found out about this ship. They must have got some under the table intel or whatever you want to say. But they go in and they find these Transformers just laying on the ground in this ship, and they're checking them out. And there's this one point in there, Cobra Commander's like dusting things off, right? He goes up and they see the symbols of the Decepticons and the Autobots, and they're trying to figure out what that symbol means. Cobra Commander goes up against it, and he rubs the symbol, and he's starting to realize that that's probably a symbol of their allegiance. And at the time that he rubs it, Megatron kind of wakes up and says, "I still function." I thought that was pretty freaking cool, because if anybody out there had a Transformers toy back in the day, there were those stickers that you rubbed to figure out if they were Autobot or Decepticon, but you had to rub them, like 3 or 4 times as hard as you can to get that color sticker to kind of pop out so you could figure out if he was Decepticon or an Autobot. But anyway, I thought that was a cool little, third page, they're throwing a little bit of a tribute there to it. But anyway, Megatron awakens, but he's in this really weakened state, and that's the end of that. So right here we have Cobra Commander and Megatron face to face. Okay, but I want to cut to something else now. What's going to happen? So we cut to where the military is kind of driving into this protest that's going on outside this UN building, and there's a big cart full of military dudes, and we find out we're intro to a very young, I was saying very young, but a pre-Snake Eyes. You see his face. He looks he doesn't have his war gear on. So what you come out of here watching that or looking at this, you see pre GI Joe. This is obviously before Snake Eyes. Hawk is not being addressed as he's being addressed as Colonel Abernathy. Snake Eyes is being called Snake Eyes. So I don't know, but I can tell you that this is definitely, they're starting out here pre-G.I. Joe. You can tell that kind of off the bat. And as they go in to guard this protest that's going on, all of a sudden there's this huge attack. Turns out it's Cobra. Cobra is coming at him with the HISS tanks. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Cobra HISS tanks that they had in the toy line, but the HISS tanks are rolling off the back of these trucks and firing into the crowd. Of course, the military is trying to take care of business, trying to guard, trying to help these people and take care of Cobra at the same time. Meanwhile, you've got an airstrike coming in that is. They figure out that Cobra's also bringing an airstrike in, so they fire up their jets and go after Cobra that way. So they're attacking by ground and air here. We see Cobra Commanders piloting one of the jets. So obviously this is a while after what we had just seen a few pages earlier. And as Cobra Commander's flying, he's in this jet. He's talking, and all of a sudden a word bubble comes up out from by his leg, and here it is, Megatron. He's got Megatron trapped in his gun form on his side, and he's talking to Megatron. So we now realize that there's an allegiance between the Decepticons and Cobra here. Although I wouldn't say it's much of an allegiance, because Megatron makes some comments about how he says you are unleashing a power you cannot hope to contain. So you realize that there is something going on here between Megatron and Cobra Commander. It sounds more like Cobra Commander is going against the wishes of Megatron here. So the planes are flying in, and here come the military planes, and they're going to stop Cobra. And sure enough, they're outmatched. At one point, one of the Cobra planes does a 90-degree turn and heads straight up skyward, and the military is like, what the hell's going on here? There's no jet that can do that. Well, sure enough, I wish I should have uploaded the soundbite of freaking Transformer transforming, because it's really going to sound sad when I do it. Is that any good? One of the planes transforms into a Decepticon. I think it's Starscream. And Starscream just punches this jet in half, all right? Well, military is clearly outmatched here. We got Cobra, we've got Decepticons, we got the military with, pre-G.I. Joe. Now, after handling the military pretty easily, Baroness says it's time to move to Phase 2. They have to get this alien remote control station in place. So, you understand now that there is a control issue going on here where Cobra has control of these alien robots, and they have to keep this station near these Decepticons in order to keep control of them. Cobra Commander yells at one point to activate the battle android troopers. Now, if you are a G.I. Joe toy line fan, you're going to realize the BAT. There used to be these androids that Cobra had called the BATs, Battle Android Troopers. So he yells that, and then all of a sudden, one of these HISS tanks, this red HISS tank, transforms, and it's freaking Optimus Prime, okay? Optimus Prime has two Cobra symbols on each shoulder. Right there, that right there is, of course, the crux of this issue. Holy crap, Optimus Prime is fighting with Cobra. The military, again, continue to attack the Transformers, and there is no hope. Snake Eyes at one point grabs a gun and starts shooting at Starscream, and Starscream just points this freaking big-ass laser at his and shoots, and it gets it, really close to Snake Eyes, where there's an explosion that, as he's flying away, you can see his hair's on fire. It messes his face up, okay? There's your beginning to Snake Eyes. What we don't understand is, why is Cobra doing this? No one knows. They end up pulling back and they leave, and we find out that all it was just a ruse. The whole purpose was for Cobra to just show up there, basically show their might. As a matter of fact, they shoot the word Cobra into the ground, and then they leave. Of course, the media's there, and they see everything. There you go. Cobra has now made a name for themselves. First issue right off the bat, what this is pretty much an origin issue. We're showing you that these two universes don't really have much of a history prior to this. And it's kind of like a restart. You know, you got the start of the G.I. Joes. The Transformers are just being found on Earth. At the end of the issue, of course, in order to combat the threat of Cobra and these robots, they decide to put G.I. Joe together. So that is pretty much the ending of the book. They put G.I. Joe together. They make Hawk the leader of G.I. Joe. Hence the end of book number 1. So, now, let's get into issue number 2. Issue number 2, we find out that there is a problem that Cobra has. Cobra has these huge robots. If you are familiar with the Transformers, the show, they have this energy that this fuel that they have to run off of, or that they, use to power themselves. Something called Energon, Energon. What they realize is these Decepticons, these Transformers are very low on energy. Are very low on Energon. So they have to figure out a way to try and manufacture Energon. What they're doing right now at the beginning of issue 2 is trying to figure out a way to develop this stuff so they can continue to power these freaking awesome robots that are kicking everyone's ass. And so there's like the first 2 pages of book 2. We see Hawk. We cut to G.I. Joe, and Hawk is introducing a new member to G.I. Joe, and that is a mummy-faced Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes still has his face all wrapped up after these bad burns, and he's bringing him into where all these recruits are for G.I. Joe, and people are just like, oh my gosh, I heard he took the laser straight to the face. But they have this sheet. I mean, we got some great classic G.I. Joe names here that are, they're obviously bringing into the fold. We got Leatherneck, we got Quick Kick, Barbecue, Clutch, Spike, Snake Eyes, Sci-Fi, Gung-Ho, Doc, Scarlet. So that solidifies a lot of the important G.I. Joe members. It's so cool to look at that. It's just one little panel, but it's got all the names. If you're familiar with the G.I. Joe toy line, when you got the G.I. Joes on the back, it had the data file on the back, had the real name and everything. These guys, I'm just going to tell you right now, these dudes paid attention to the toys. This book was made for fans of the show and of the toy line. Clearly made, because you were going to see, if you get these books, you're going to see a lot of the vehicles that you used to remember playing with. Some really cool stuff. And not only that, but a Hiss tank into a Transformer. All these vehicles, these G.I. Joe vehicles, become Transformers. And it's so freaking awesome to kind of see that. Anyway, back to the book here. G.I. Joe is now, they're in their early stages. They're trying to figure out a way to get a handle on Cobra. They have an idea of where Cobra may strike next. We cut to some Autobots. Now, this is where I kind of lose. I had to reread this a couple times because I was like, wait a second, I've kind of lost something here. Maybe I missed something. But Bumblebee, our familiar old yellow VW Slugbug, and Wheeljack are actually out and about in the city. They're not under any type of control by Cobra. They're sentient on their own and out, amongst the people. So here they are. They're talking about, what just happened. They've caught the news reports that these robots have attacked the UN building, and they pieced it together that, oh shit, our buddies are back. So what's going on? So they're trying to figure out pretty much what the Joes are. They're trying to figure out where are Cobra and the Transformers going to strike next. Also figured out something that the Joes haven't. They figured out that most likely Cobra's trying to manufacture Energon because they understand that they've got to be out of power, or at least very, very low on it. So they're putting things together to try and figure out, okay, how are they going to try and manufacture Energon? All right, so we cut now to Dr. Mindbender, who's working on Optimus Prime. Optimus Prime, by the way, even though he's clearly under Cobra control, he's been resisting. And Dr. Mindbender has hacked into the system of Optimus Prime, is trying to figure out, okay, well, how the hell are you resisting our commands? And there's an issue that happens where Optimus Prime creates some type of feedback into the system, forcing Mindbender basically to just cut the power. And they're freaking out trying to figure out what the hell is going on. So they cut the power to trying to hack into Optimus Prime's defense system, or whatever the hell it is, immune system. I think they called it immune system at some point. They're trying to take control of Optimus Prime and make him clearly listen to these commands. But there's this backfeed that happens. Mindbender's he's forced to pull but he kind of, at the end, before the panels end, he says, "Just what have you done, robot?" So he's kind of wondering that Optimus may have done something to cause this, but he has no idea what. All right, now we're going to cut again to Echelon 5, okay? Or Echelon. I don't know how you... Echelon? Echelon. That's Echelons. It's CH, but it sounds like it. Yeah, I'm going to give you grammar class today. Echelon 5, all right? Echelon 5, by the way, these guys know what the hell's going on because Echelon 5 is the NSA headquarters. And I'm going to read you directly from this panel. NSA headquarters for monitoring every email, fax, and telephone transmission in the United States. This is 2003. Big Brother's been watching for a long time. Echelon 5 has found this email, and they have given it to one of their best and brightest, a guy that goes by the nickname of Mainframe. And apparently it's this clue. We don't know what it is. They give it to Mainframe, and Mainframe's like, I better give this to the military, let them know what's going on. It's obviously connected to the UN attack. Now we're going to cut again. There is a Cobra defector by the name of Mercer. Goes to Joe's headquarters and pretty much tells him, hey, you're not dealing with robots here. You're dealing with aliens. He proceeds to show them pictures of them raiding the Autobots ship, the Ark. I don't know if you guys recall the Ark, but it was the main ship that the Autobots were in. And they've got all the digging equipment and all this stuff surrounding this ship in this picture. So he convinces the Joes, hey, listen to me. This is what's going on. You can trust me. This is alien tech. Joes are like, holy crap, Now back on Cobra Base, there's a wealthy investor by the name of Destro that shows up. He wants to see where his money and what his money has been going to. Turns out that Cobra and Destro have come together. Destro paid them to attack the UN building, to influence some political decisions, plus kind of strong-arm some people into paying Destro some money. That was also one of the things that came behind why Cobra attacked this UN building. Destro asked them about the mobile command station, and they say, yeah, hey, we Cobra's like, we have got this mobile command station now, and we've put it in a transformer. In the last page, you see the mobile command, the remote alien control station, and here it is, freaking Soundwave. And that's the end of issue 2. So, my friends, I shall return in just a few moments, and I leave you with some fun stuff for about the next 5 minutes. I'll be right back.
The Transformers will return after these messages.
No! G.I. Joe wants you to join the rough and tough troopers of the Joe Team. They're pumped up for some heavy-duty action. Those slithery snakes from Cobra may be bad news, but you can count on G.I. Joe to rock and roll over anyone who threatens world peace. All new adventures, weekdays. G.I. Joe wants you.
G.I. Joe against Cobra the enemy in the commando attack game.
Cobra! You're a business, Quick!
The G.I. Joe commando attack game puts you in the middle of the action. G.I. Joe, American hero. Whether you're Cobra or the Joe Team, your combat mission's the same. Capture prisoners, invade your enemy's supply depot, and destroy its headquarters. Smith & Bradley's G.I. Joe Commando Attack game. You can also play it with your own G.I. Joes. Cobra Hydroforce, shooting across the water is an evil new foe. Cobra Hydroforce, gonna get G.I. Joe. Introducing the Cobra Hydrofoil.
The G.I. Joe battle platform's under attack. Cobra! Raise the missile rack. Fire the torpedoes. Fire! 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 G.I. Joe is counterattacking.
Cobra Hydrofoil, G.I. Joe Tactical Battle Platform. Other Joe and Cobra figures each sold separately from Hasbro.
We got Cobra Rattlers. We got the G.I. Joe Hovercraft.
You're gonna need Cobra Rattlers. It's all about G.I. Joe.
Cobra!
And you better have a G.I. Joe Hovercraft if you're battling the Cobra ball.
Joe!
G.I. Joe, American hero.
Live the adventure of G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe Hovercraft comes with cutter and holds 10 Joes, each sold separately. Cobra Rattler with Violet sold separately.
Incredible G.I. Joe Mobile Command Center and its hunting for Cobra. 3 levels of awesome Cobra chasing, Cobra fighting power. Level 1, armed and ready to attack. Level 2, computer system is go. Engine room, we have full power. Level 3, missiles loaded, let's go. Prisoner secured.
Go, Joe!
Let's move out. Mobile Command Center comes with driver, other figures and vehicles sold separately. daring Cobra Commander no longer has the ability to lead, Destro and Dr. Mindbender comb the tombs of the most evil leaders in history, and from their genetic tissues produce a composite clone with the military genius of Napoleon, the ruthlessness of Julius Caesar, the daring of Hannibal, and the cunning of Attila the Hun. Behold the ultimate Cobra Emperor, Serpentor.
The most evil one, G.I. Joe! G.I. Joe! America's hero!
What happens next? Find out in Marvel Comics.
This is it, the Dreadnought Cycle.
Watch out, Joe, 'cause trouble awaits you. The Dreadnought Cycle's gonna devastate you.
The Dreadnought Cycle has a swivel machine gun that carries 4 Dreadnoughts, and here's Zanzibar, the Dreadnought's pirate, meanest Dreadnought yet.
You can't escape me, ass skip. Hope I didn't dirty your night, you poor lady.
Live the adventure of G.I. Joe. Dreadnought's airship comes with Zanzibar, Dreadnought Cycle, and other figures sold separately.
Wow.
Introducing the G.I. Joe USS Flag Aircraft Carrier. Imagine being on the deck of this aircraft carrier.
The USS Flag is fantastic. It's so big. Get ready to launch aircraft. Where's the admiral? Down here. G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe USS Flag Aircraft Carrier comes with what you see here. Other figures and equipment sold separately from Hasbro.
G.I. Joe wants you to join the rough and tough troopers of the Joe team. They're pumped up for some heavy-duty action. Those slithery snakes from Cobra may be bad news, but you can count on G.I. Joe to rock and roll over anyone who threatens world peace. All new adventures, weekdays. G.I. Joe wants you.
You're looking at the Cobra surveillance port.
Imagine this. Look, it's the Cobra surveillance port. And that's an Android Trooper. I know the Cobra Vipers. Look what we do.
And that's the law, G.I. Joe's high-tech defense post.
That's Dial Tone.
And at the outpost defender, that's Leatherneck. Live the adventure of G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe, Outpost Defender, the Law, and Cobra Surveillance Port. G.I. Joe and Cobra figures each sold separately.
Yeah.
Cobra's really tough, you know. And Cobra's up to something there with G.I. Joe.
Cobra! Cobra blew up the bridge. Bridge layer to the rescue. Yeah, Special Detective.
Introducing the new Joes, Barbecue and Shipwreck.
We're going to start Cobra this time.
G.I. Joe.
Awesome.
G.I. Joe Bridge Layer comes with driver, or Striker comes with driver. Other figures and equipment sold separately from Hasbro.
He'll fight for freedom wherever there's trouble. G.I. Joe is there.
It's here, the G.I. Joe collection. Infantry Trooper. Codename Grunt. Bazooka Soldier. Codename Zap. Motor Soldier. Codename Short Fuse. Laser Rifle Trooper. Codename Flash. Ranger. Codename Stalker. Communications Officer. Codename Breaker. Machine Gunner. Codename Rock and Roll. Counterintelligence. Codename Scarlet. Commando. Codename Snake Eyes. Each sold separately. G.I. Joe from Hasbro.
We now return to the Transformers.
It's just like watching an episode. You wouldn't believe how much fun I had YouTubing those, watching them, ripping them, and putting them on here. I was like, man, it would be great to do like an episodic intro, and we got the episode bumpers. So get ready, folks. You're going to hear a little bit more of that here in a few. All right, back. We are back, and it's Transformers versus G.I. Joe, or G.I. Joe versus Transformers, and we're heading into issue 3. All right, so just to recap, Soundwave showed up, and he's one of the remote alien control centers, so they've obviously got inside him, and they're controlling him and using him to control the rest of these Transformers. So now we immediately pick up where Destro was checking out what Cobra's doing. Cobra's also been working on these powered mechs, and this is something I didn't know. Again, this was something that I kid you not, 5 minutes before the episode I found out. But there's these mech suits that they were building. They call them the Snakes. It's like, oh, that's pretty neat. This is something new. I go to do a little bit of research because I'm not the greatest when it comes to the titles of the G.I. Joe vehicles. So I hop on, I'm going to give them a plug here, yojoe.com, and they have all these vehicles sitting there, so you can go throughout, year by year. I'm not kidding you. Let me go back there quick. I had it. It was 1980, I think it was 83. Yeah, 1983, they introduced the Snake, and it was seriously a freaking G.I. Joe mech suit. And I'm blown away. I'll just put it down. I mean, hey, there's probably people out there that are listening to this going, yeah, I knew that. But I thought that this was something new they introduced in the comics. The mechs looked just like the freaking mech suit that came out in '83 in the toy line. So, but they had, in the comic book, they had used the technology from the Transformers, reverse engineered it, took some ideas from it, and built these mech suits, okay? A Cobra villain can hop in there, control this mech suit. Or this mech suit. Okay, now we're going to cut back to the Joes. The Joes are trying to figure out a way to. They're figuring out what Cobra's next target is, and it turns out it's the satellite. The purpose of this satellite was to collect the sun's rays, convert it into energy, and send it down into a focused microwave beam down to Earth. Now, this is important. That's why I'm going into it. They send this microwave beam directly down to Earth, and supposedly it was going to help power the United States, in the year 2018. They figured out that Cobra's going to go for this satellite as a means to produce, the fuel for these. And sure enough, we cut to Cobra doing exactly that. They're going for they're planning a raid on this site that has the control module for this satellite. And we're cutting right to them heading towards the freaking base. This is a good while after that. So as they're going, it's Soundwave piloted by Destro. We also see Ravage, the Transformer Ravage. We see the Transformer Rumble. The Cobra Bubble, the Trouble Bubble, is being piloted by Firefly and Zartan, who, by the way, have first engineered some alien technology and have put these devices on themselves that allow them to cloak themselves. Now, again, harken back, Zartan, if you got him wet, he would disappear. I believe that's how. I can't remember if it was wet or if you got him in heat. I think it was if you got him wet, he disappeared. So, again, merging the two universes here, which is really cool. The Joes, however, are waiting for Cobra to show up at this building or this base, and they're ready to trap Cobra. I guess ambush them when they make an attack. They also have weapons that are able to take out the Transformers. When they show up, Cobra's expecting to again just trounce whoever's there, but they have these weapons that they've designed now that are able to take out some of the Transformers. Let me see here. The Joes are waiting with a couple weapons that can work against the Transformers. We have the Autobots, Sideswipe, and Sunstreaker, who are heading directly for the door. Okay, they're the Cobra vehicles. Again, they're transforming these Cobra vehicles, and they're heading right for the door. Wheeljack intercepts them and knocks them, stops them from heading towards the door. We get a good battle scene here. We get a firefight. Zartan ends up taking out Mutt and Quick Kick, and after they wake up, they gave chase to Zartan, only to be met by Ravage, and they get messed up by Ravage. Ravage they're just covered. One panel they cut away, and then they cut back to them, and they are just covered in freaking scratches all over their bodies. They don't think they're going to make it out alive with Ravage there. Also, we get a really cool meeting between Laserbeak, one of the tape sets that came out of Soundwave. Laserbeak flies through and is like wreaking havoc upon the Joes that are trying to fight him. And out of nowhere comes Snake Eyes, and Snake Eyes just straight up chops Laserbeak's head straight off his body. You just see a sword go down, and boom, there goes Laserbeak. He's done. Like I said, Wheeljack and Bumblebee show up. The Joes don't understand that they're on their side. They are fighting against, they see them fighting against Cobra, and they're trying to figure out, wait a second, these are more giant robots. As a matter of fact, at one point they fire on Bumblebee. Luckily, it doesn't hurt him. He catches whatever the rocket is, and the Joes are like, whoa, one of the G.I. Joes, I think it was freaking CoverGirl's the one that fired at him. Anyway, hold your fire, and we're okay there. So the Bumblebee and Wheeljack are now fighting on their side. G.I. Joes are realizing it. However, Cobra is able to infiltrate the base. Firefly's able to get in there, steal the control module, and they get away. Not before he detonates a bomb, like within 10 feet of both Mutt and Quick Kick. The Joes actually think that they've died. However, they find out that Quick Kick's going to be all right, but Mutt is in critical condition. So there we go. Now the Joes are at the end of this issue. The Joes are welcoming Bumblebee and Wheeljack, and they're kind of sharing information, but they're pretty pissed because now Cobra's got the control module for the satellite. However, they're like, well, hey, we've come here to help you, Bumblebee and Wheeljack. Even though kind of out of luck right now, we might have some information to help you guys. Well, this time we find out that the email or that message that we were talking about, that Echelon 5 figured out, it was actually an email sent to like hundreds of email addresses. Joes are like, maybe we should show these guys the picture, see if they can make anything out of it. So they go and they show them this email, and Wheeljack and Bumblebee are looking at this email and they're laughing. And here is a picture of Soundwave, but it's got a bunch of like Sanskrit written in the email. The Joes have no idea what the hell they're looking at. Wheeljack is laughing about how it's kind of funny, and they're like, well, why the hell is this funny? Turns out what's written there is Cybertronian dialect, and it contains coordinates and the data to access the network that controls all the other Transformers, sent out by Optimus Prime in that one time that he resisted in the last issue. So he's now sent out everything in order to basically, hey, come and get me, and come and get Cobra. Wheeljack ends up hacking the network and actually ceases Cobra's control over all the Transformers. So here they are in this base. Mind you, it's the Cobra Island, and all these Transformers are being controlled, and then all just stopped. Autobots and Decepticons cease to be controlled by Cobra. Cobra has no idea. Near the end of the issue, the Constructicons, folks, the freaking Constructicons, of course we're going to have the Constructicons. They're helping build these things. I want to read you this one bubble. I never would have suspected that these machines are as adept at constructing hardware as they are powerful. This is Dr. Mindbender who's controlling them, and then all of a sudden, boom, he has no more control over them, and the Constructicons, needless to say, turn on Dr. Mindbender. Dr. Mindbender's running and yelling, Cobra Commander, we got a problem. Cobra Commander is looking at a view screen and says, I've got my own problems, and here it is, a pissed off Optimus Prime who says, you have no idea. So that's how we end issue 3. The Decepticons, the Autobots, are now not under Cobra's control anymore. And Optimus Prime is going for... Oh, actually, that might be a window I think he's looking at. Not a view screen. He's looking at a window, and there's Optimus Prime looking right back at him. Cobra Commander, by the way, oh my gosh, the hooded Cobra Commander. Every time I looked at Cobra Commander, I thought Dr. Doom. He portrayed that arrogance, and they drew him so well. Not that I'm saying he looked like him. I'm just saying that it just gave you that impression. But anyway, there we go. That's the end of issue 3. So we'll go into issue 4. Cobra Island is now becoming the scene of an Autobots Decepticons versus Cobra. Like I said, they had no idea what's going on. Prime is going after Cobra Commander. He rips off this window and is right there. He's grabbing for Cobra Commander. Now, Cobra Commander, again, remember, guess who he's got right on his leg? And that's Megatron. And Megatron's like, hey, you want out of this? Release me. Reluctantly, Cobra Commander pushes a button. Here transforms Megatron. Stalled there for a second because I want to bring up something here. And this is the one thing, I was the G.I. Joe guy growing up, that was the toys that I played with, and I think a lot of that was because Transformers were too damn expensive, okay? But money problems aside, there was one thing I gave G.I. Joe over the Transformers. And maybe there's somebody out there that can explain this to me, and I really hope they don't direct me to the movie that just came out. Because really, I think that's the only thing that I've seen that has ever explained this. I did not understand how a huge-ass robot could go down into a small hand-sized gun, okay? I'm just... the size or the scale, I just could never understand it. Now, maybe they explain that in the cartoon. I haven't watched a cartoon in forever. But, Cobra Commander pushes this button, the gun flies off of the side, and then all of a sudden we've got a huge-ass robot. That's the only thing I could never get past. Scale. Other than that, I love Transformers, love watching it, but I just never could understand the scale because you would see they varied in scale when they would transform into this. When you look at the toy line, and here I am griping about this, but you look at the toy line, there's a point where a train turns into, what was the name of that? Can't remember the name of that Transformer, but it was, the train was going, and then Astro Train, I think is what it was. Then all of a sudden, it turns into a freaking space shuttle. And then just the scale on the way these things would transform, it never could sink in as to how in the world, in reality, and even as a kid, I was just like, I don't get it. But anyway, back to the story. All right, so we got a fight between Optimus Prime and Megatron. We've been waiting for that for a few issues. There's a mention when Megatron slugs Optimus Prime, sends him into the wall. And he says, after 5 million years, that felt good. So they've been motionless for quite a while. they've been on Earth for that long, which kind of blew my mind. But we got the Autobots, Ratchet, Jazz, Ironhide. They free themselves. They decide to go find Prime. So they're on Cobra Island, going to go look for Prime, go and find Prime and try and get him, figure out what the heck they need to do. Now, cutting back to stateside, the government comes in. The government, the people that are funding G.I. Joe, they come in and they tell Hawk that, hey, this is what's going to happen. We're going to drop a nuclear bomb on Cobra Island. That's right, folks. We have made a decision that we're going to drop a nuclear bomb onto Cobra because we know where they are now. We don't need G.I. Joe anymore. As a matter of fact, we don't need these 2 Autobots you guys got either. So here's a device. We want you to activate the device, and it'll immobilize these 2 Transformers that you have here. It'll immobilize Bumblebee and Wheeljack. Of course, Duke's like, whoa, wait a second. What the hell are you talking about? They convince him, and of course, Duke, or did I say Duke? I meant Hawk. Hawk is reluctant, obviously, but he's a man of duty, and he proceeds to push the button, and down goes Bumblebee and Wheeljack. And they're laying on the ground, and Hawk is explaining himself to the rest of the G.I. Joes because what the hell just happened? So he says, look, U.S. of A. is going to go drop a nuke on Cobra Island. Wheeljack is laying there, and he says, no, you can't do that. If you drop that bomb, if they have Energon on there, the reaction could destroy half the planet. And that's where we leave that. Prime, then we cut back to Optimus Prime and Megatron, and we get ourselves a good, again, they're still fighting. Just as Megatron has got Prime down, and he's ready to lay the last laser blast in the Optimus Prime and kill him, he's shot. And can you guys guess who shot him? Yes, my friends, it was Starscream. Starscream, that son of a... Yes, he did it. He shot Megatron actually shot him right in the face. I was expecting it to be in the back, but that turncoat Starscream shoots Megatron and says that it's basically time for him to focus on his agenda. While the other Autobots show up right as this happens, and of course they got Prime's back, and we get ourselves a battle. Now, meanwhile, Cobra Commander's getting the hell out. He's like, okay, things are going to crap. While Megatron and Optimus Prime are fighting, he takes off and goes toward a boat in a lagoon. Just as he gets there, the trouble bubbles, these unmanned trouble bubbles show up, and here it is. I wish I could remember. I don't know who this other guy is, but I know one of them's Brawn. I don't know who this other dude is. And they transform out of the trouble bubbles, and they're like, hey, Cobra Commander, you're going with us. Cobra Commander is reluctant, obviously, and from behind, they get attacked. Who is it that attacks them, you say? Why, it's a snake, one of the mech suits that I was talking about earlier. The snake is piloted by one of our other favorite ninjas, Storm Shadow. And by honor, he is bound to save Cobra Commander, and he does so. Obviously provides enough time for Cobra Commander to get away. He leaves the 2 Autobots on the ground shaking their head like, what the hell just happened? Baroness does something similar by saving Zartan and Destro. They're getting chased by one of the Decepticons, and Baroness shows up in a snake suit and stops. I think it's Rumble that's chasing him. I can't tell. It's one of the blue ones. Again, they don't name them, and I know people that could look at a Transformer and say, oh yeah, that's so and so. I'm not one of those guys, unfortunately. But Baroness saves Zartan and Destro. We cut to the government at the end of this issue, who is dealing with the fact that they find out that the Joes, instead of following orders, you guessed it, have taken off in planes and Transformers, I guess, and are heading towards Cobra Island all on their own. Of course, Bumblebee and Wheeljack. And that, my friends, is where we end issue number 4. So again, we can tell there's a hell of a battle coming. All the G.I. Joes, all the Transformers are going to be on one little island, and stuff's going to get heavy. So be prepared, folks, when we start issue 5 here in just a few minutes.
The Transformers will return after these messages.
The Transformers, more than meets the eye. Autobots wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons. The Transformers, more than meets the eye. The Transformers, robots in disguise.
Attack the Autobot Commander! Call in the Decepticon leader!
Transformers, more than meets the eye.
The Transformers from Hasbro.
Oh, look!
What is it? It's the Insecticons, an evil new menace from the world of the Transformers.
The Transformers, more than meets the eye. The Transformers.
sold separately from Hasbro.
From across the galaxy to battle the evil Decepticons comes the ultimate Autobot hero, Optimus Prime. Transforming from big rig into powerful robot, he's the greatest Autobot warrior of them all. With a hidden battle platform, twin rocket launchers for double the damage, and a light and sound power pack for real battle action. And when Optimus talks, I am Optimus Prime, the Decepticons will run for cover. Transformers! Transformers Generation 2. Optimus Prime is all you see here.
It's the Autobots in space! But where are the Autobots? Who cares? Decepticons are gone! Oh no, look!
It's Omega Supreme.
Introducing the Autobots Omega Supreme Defense Base. It comes with a motorized tank with flashing turret lights.
Decepticons! Counterattack Omega Supreme!
Transformers.
Omega Supreme will stop them!
Robots in disguise.
Omega Supreme is invincible!
Transformers.
The Transformers, sold separately, batteries not included from Hasbro. And as the battle between the Autobots and Decepticons rages on, Megatron creates Triple Changers, the most evil Decepticons of all. But the Autobot scientist Perceptor is ready for anything. Introducing Perceptor. From a working microscope, he transforms into a robot.
The Transformers.
And Triple Changer Blitzwing transforms from tank to plane, and from plane to robot.
Robots in disguise.
Triple Changer! Autobots, stop them!
The Transformers.
Sold separately from Hasbro.
In the world of the Transformers, nothing is what it seems. Meet the Constructicons, 6 evil robots that transform into one mechanical giant.
The Transformers, more than meets the eye. The Transformers.
It's Devastator! 6 Constructicons in 1!
Transformers.
Devastator's attacking!
Constructicons gift set sold separately from Hasbro. Introducing Blaster. He looks like an innocent radio, but transformed, he's the powerful Autobot communicator.
Optimus Prime is blasted! Watch out for Soundwave! It's Soundwave and Buzzsaw! Blaster and Prime will stop them!
The Transformers, each sold separately from Hasbro.
You can trust me, Rodimus. You can trust me, Galvatron. Introducing the Transformer Double Spy. From a supercar, he can transform into a heroic Autobot or an evil Decepticon. Now discover the clones. Decepticon clones. Look identical, but one transforms into a Puma, the other into a Hawk. To fight Autobot clones, one of these twins transforms into a jet, the other a dragster. Now available Transformers decoys in specially marked packages. It's Fortress Maximus.
Fortress Maximus.
The colossal Headmaster Autobot City.
Look!
The Terracons are attacking! Transformed Fortress Maximus.
Master Transformers.
From city to battle station.
More than meets the eye.
Terracons, form above us and destroy Fortress Maximus. But Fortress Maximus transforms again, this time into a robot so humongous a separate robot becomes its head.
Its power's awesome!
Transformers.
From Hasbro.
There it is! The secret base of the Headmaster Decepticons! Only with their help can we destroy the Autobots! Look! Yeah, the trainer of the beast becomes the head of the robot!
Master Transformers. Much more than meets the eye. The Transformers.
And each Headmaster Decepticon displays a readout of its power. Nothing's better than going into battle with these Transformers. Headmaster Decepticon sold separately from Hasbro.
Autobot attack!
6 shadow problems, 6 shots of one robot army! He's a jet fighter!
That's 1.
The rocket car!
That's 2.
He's a tank!
3.
The winged wolf!
4.
The laser pistol!
5.
And a robot!
That's 6. 6 shots, my name!
There's never been a Transformer like him.
The Transformers. Much more than meets the eye.
I can do 4! I got 3! I figured out 5!
6 shots, the most challenging Transformer of them all, from Hasbro.
We now return to the Transformers.
I tried my best to do that guy that does the commercials for the Transformers. And what do you know? It transforms into 6. That's right, 6 different robots and vehicles. What do you think? Oh my gosh, it's Megatron. I want to do the whole podcast with this voice. Be prepared. Okay, kid. That guy's got an iconic freaking commercial voice. every commercial I watched, it was most of them was that guy. Good stuff. Takes you back, man, to some of the freaking Transformers. That Fortress Maximus was one of the ones I wanted to get a hold of. Of course, as a kid, you're always wanting to get that one that cost your mom and dad an arm and leg, like Unicron or something crazy like that. I was telling Ronnie on here that if he had the helicarrier, I knew one kid that had the aircraft carrier. I'm sorry, not the helicarrier. The aircraft carrier. I'm getting my Marvel mixed in here. The G.I. Joe aircraft carrier. That was one of the most sought out Christmas gifts. Matter of fact, they did. If you guys have ever had a chance to watch the Goldbergs on ABC, there's an episode where his mom goes in his room. Takes place back in the 80s, by the way, if you're not familiar with it. But his mom goes into his room and throws all his toys out. And one of his toys was the freaking G.I. Joe aircraft carrier. And I knew one kid that had the aircraft carrier. And of course, he had so many G.I. Joes. He's grown up now. I know the kid, I know the guy probably has no interest in having any G.I. Joe. But I know those G.I. Joes are sitting down, and that aircraft carrier is sitting down in his basement. I reached out to him a while back and I said, man, you ever thinking about getting rid of those? And he kind of bid on it, like, yeah, I'm interested. He's like, but I got to check with my mom. His mom wouldn't let him get rid of them. So, yeah, I was like, well, that battle's lost because I'm not going to try and freaking talk. If his mom's making him keep them, she obviously is not going to be, and he's 30-some years old. There's no way I'm going to talk about it. So, anyway, okay, so we're getting into issue 5 here. We're back. Let me pull up my notes. Yeah, like I said, G.I. Joes, Cobra, Autobots, Decepticons on one little island in the Mediterranean, Cobra Island that is, coming together, and we're going to have a battle. Now, when G.I. Joe shows up, we've already got the Autobots and the Decepticons going at it. I mean, they're already fighting. They're also fighting Cobra in the middle of all this. They cut back to the States, and they're briefing President Bush on what's going on. And obviously, he's not named, but you could tell it's definitely President Bush. This came out in 2003, so I assume that's what he used. But they are aware of what's going on, and they still decide that they need to drop this nuclear. They're not aware about the whole Energon thing, but they're aware G.I. Joe's going to be there. Their main thing is to destroy the threat of Earth and destroy the threat of these alien robots. So they're still going to continue to drop the nuclear bomb on Cobra Island. He gives the authorization to do so. Now, the Decepticons are running the show on Cobra Island, and they're actually telling Cobra, Dr. Mindbender and a couple others, they're kind of directing them on having them do the work for the Decepticons and replenishing this Energon. They're still focused on getting this Energon. They're still focusing, even though things have changed, they're still going to use this satellite to bring down the microwaves and fill these Energon cubes. Out in the heat of battle, Cobra is fighting the Joes, and the Constructicons show up, and they transform, of course, into one thing that we've been wanting to see, Devastator. And Devastator, really, unfortunately, even though we wanted to see that, he's kicking some Autobot butt, but he is, and the tanks are laying into him, the G.I. Joe tanks are laying into him, and we got Bumblebee taking 1 foot, and they're trying their best against Devastator here. But he gets one panel, and then we cut over to Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes is going through the woods doing his ninja stuff, and out of the blue, here comes Starscream. Starscream starts running his mouth. Snake Eyes not going to have much of. Snake Eyes pretty much jumps at Starscream's face. Starscream's face, slices his eye, and throws a grenade into his eye socket. Starscream's freaking out and drops. He was hanging on this cliff, apparently. Drops down into the bottom of this water, and that's kind of the last we see. We also get some mechs, the snake suit mechs. We get some of those versus the Autobots. Storm Shadow, Baroness, and I think Zartan is in another snake suit. They come into contact with some Autobots, and we have a battle there. Storm Shadow actually takes out a Transformer, an Autobot by the name of Trailbreaker, shoots him pretty much, grabs him by the neck and straight up shoots him in the face. So that's the end of Trailbreaker, and the other Autobots are like, whoa, wait a second. They're obviously upset, and they go after Storm Shadow. All the other 3 Autobots gang up on Storm Shadow. They mess him up. We'll just put it that way. Cobra Commander, again, just like the snake that he is, slithers off, gets out of the heat. During the heat of battle, he proceeds to run off into the woods. Prime, by the way, has taken his leave from the rest of the Autobots, transformed into his tank form, took off, and just straight for the site where they're getting ready to beam down these microwaves. And this is where Megatron, Soundwave, Dr. Mindbender are all where the energy, all bringing down and filling up this Energon. Prime busts through this wall and ends up landing into the Energon cubes. Now, don't know much about how Energon is used or how it's consumed, but it almost looks like it starts disappearing as soon as Prime touches it. So I assume that he's absorbing this Energon, and he's becoming more powerful, obviously. The rest of these, he hadn't been up to full energy until he busted through here and got some Energon, okay? Of course, Megatron, Soundwave, they all attack Prime, but Prime's just a little too powerful. Turns around and punches Soundwave, okay? He punches Soundwave through his chest. His hand goes through Soundwave and just lays Soundwave out. That's the end of Soundwave. He's now, I wouldn't call him deceased because he does say that he is going to leave his vital circuit. He goes, I'll avoid your vital circuits, and punches him through the chest. That's the end of Soundwave. It takes out the rest of the Decepticons. Ravage tries to attack him. He grabs Ravage in one hand and squeezes him. Prime is ruthless. He's pissed. Turns around and he's going to find Megatron. Megatron's, guess what? A la Cobra Commander, Megatron's done left. Cut back to freaking Devastator. Devastator, my friends, he had one panel where he was laying out some, attacking the Joes and Autobots. The next panel that we see Devastator, he's laying in a heat. So the Joes and Autobots have gotten the best. And Wheeljack, Bumblebee, and the rest of the Joes have gotten better. We then find out that, I guess the Joes are starting to get some intel from back stateside, and they find out that the president has authorized the nuclear bomb drop. So not only that, the first thing they want to do is try and get the Energon off or out of the way, but they don't know how to do that. Even if they did that, if they tried to escape, they wouldn't escape the blast radius of this nuclear bomb. So pretty much dead either way. They've come to grips with that. The last page of this book is the submarine coming up with the nuclear bombs on it and them getting ready to launch. We're heading into our last issue, issue 6. Issue 6, Sci-Fi, our technical G.I. Joe, and Wheeljack have decided that they're going to put their minds together and they're going to figure out a way to try and stop these nuclear bombs from dropping. It's not just one bomb, by the way. It looks like they're about to drop about 3, but they've got to figure out a way to try to avoid these nuclear bombs from hitting the island. So what they've come to the conclusion of is that they may be able to use the satellite that's beaming these microwaves down to disable the bombs. Basically shooting them out of the air. So they head to where Prime just was, where Prime was, where all the Energon was. They go over there to take control and figure out a way to satellite. As they're in the middle of doing this, Dr. Mindbender's cowering under the desk. They enlist the help of Dr. Mindbender. While they're doing this, they're interrupted by the Vipers and Firefly and a battle-damaged, meched-up, snake-suited Storm Shadow. So we get a battle while they're trying to secure this satellite. The Decepticons are trying to stop them from doing so. Although I should say Cobra. Much of Cobra is not aware of what's going on here, other than Dr. Mindbender has been explained. They explained to him, hey, a nuke's about to drop in here. The rest of Cobra has no idea what the heck's going on, so they're thinking that the Joes and Autobots are there to thwart their plan, and they're none the wiser. So of course we get a fight, big old firefight there. Meanwhile, Cobra Commander's trying to figure out a way to escape. Comes across that waterfall that a certain Decepticon fell down into. That Decepticon's still alive. Turns out that grenade that Snake Eyes put into Starscream's eye did not explode. So Cobra Commander and Starscream is begging him, basically, hey, you help me, I'll help you. We'll get out of here. Just take this freaking grenade out of my eye and don't let it explode. Megatron's still trying to get the hell out also. He's running away. He realizes that he needs to regroup. He then stops mid-run and he runs headlong into G.I. Joe. We got Bazooka. We've got Lady J, Scarlet, Quick Kick, Snake Eyes. Mercer's there, and of course Hawk. And they're standing there. They tell Megatron, "You're not going anywhere." He actually Hawk tells the rest of them to fire at will. So they open fire on Megatron. Megatron's trying to guard himself, and we get a bit of a fight here where it's Megatron versus the G.I. Joes. There's no Autobots in this fight. Megatron uses his. I've only seen this a couple times, but he uses his energy weapon where he creates this mace that comes out of his hands, energy mace. He starts swinging it. As a matter of fact, at one point, he uses arm cannon and disintegrates Mercer. Mercer's dead. That turncoat anyway. But Mercer's dead, and as he's about to swing and take out Hawk, one of the things, all of a sudden, this satellite is firing off randomly into the island. It's firing these microwaves. Turns out the Autobots were able to disable the nuclear weapons by firing the satellite down and using the microwaves to destroy the nuclear bombs. Problem is, there was a shot that came from one of the Cobra weapons that hit the control device that they were using to control the satellite, and now all of a sudden the satellite is shooting down randomly these huge beams of microwaves. As a matter of fact, just as Megatron is about ready to use his mace and take out Hawk, one of these microwave beams comes down and fries his freaking hands off. So this beam is powerful enough to actually hurt Transformers. And I'm not talking about just like once every second it's once every minute it's firing down. I mean, it's like firing down like, 5 or 6 different beams a second. And it's taken out Autobots and Decepticons alike, and people are running for shelter trying to avoid this, including, Cobra Commander and any other, Cobra or G.I. Joe. They're trying to figure out a way to avoid getting hit by these beams. So Megatron's sitting there with no hand, and just as that happened, Optimus Prime shows up. We get our Optimus Prime Megatron battle. Prime easily gets the upper hand. As a matter of fact, he's got Megatron on the ground and grabs his arm, blaster on it, pulls the blaster off, gets the coordinates for the satellite from Sci-Fi, puts the blaster in his hand, aims up into the sky, and shoots and takes the satellite out. So our problems have been solved. Megatron's down, the nuclear bombs have been destroyed, and the satellite that was wreaking all sorts of havoc has been destroyed also. And that is pretty much where we end the battle. They've got the best of Megatron and the Decepticons. They've got their Energon. We cut to the end of basically the after story. Prime does get in one last shot on Megatron. He hits him and pretty much knocks him out. So that's pretty much the end of the battle. But the end of our story, 10 weeks later, takes place 10 weeks. There's a point where they're at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Fairborn, Ohio. At Wright-Pat, the G.I. Joes, the government has helped rebuild the Transformers arc. The Autobots are taking, I'm guessing, the Decepticons, heading up back into space. G.I. Joe has, I guess, reverse engineered some alien technology, and we have ourselves some pretty cool looking mechs. Hawk's telling Optimus Prime, hey, thanks for the exchange of technology. So the Autobots have kind of shared some technology, believed in the Joes and given them. We've got these things are they're Transformer sized. You see the Joes standing down there beside them, and I don't know if these are things that have made it into the G.I. Joe universe. If they did, they were definitely much later. I'm talking about toy line, but there they are. That's they're if you look at the book, you'll see what I'm talking about. I mean, one of them looks like freaking Snake Eyes, but it's like a huge robot version of Snake Eyes. Off goes the Ark into space with the Transformers and some of the Decepticons. However, in the Florida Keys, we have Cobra Commander and Starscream who have escaped somewhat unscathed, and they're basically trying. There's 2 panels there where it's them two going, sharing verbal barbs back and forth, trying to figure out how to get back on the beat. So Starscream has been left on the planet, and Cobra Commander's there. So we're left with that. And then in New Mexico, essentially Area 51, the government seems to have collected a few Transformer casualties and are working on doing exactly what Cobra did. So at the end of this book, you start to wonder who was really the villain here. Is it Cobra, the terrorist organization? Obviously, they're the bad guys. But here we have, just looking at this panel, the government has pieces of Soundwave. They got his head. What they say here is, we will have these things up and running way better than those Cobra morons ever did. They're just standing on the shoulders of Cobra and doing exactly what Cobra just did. Now, as to whether, I'm sure their intentions to use as a terrorist organization, but still, they're going to do they're going to try and attempt to do exactly what you did. And that's where we leave you. That is the end of the 6th issue G.I. Joe versus Transformers 2003 story. Wow, it was a lot. There's a lot to cover there. A lot of good stuff. I mean, including really this book, like I said, was great when it comes to cartoon, when it comes to the toy line. They really stayed faithful to that, and they did a good job putting a story together that, started these 2 universes out together. There wasn't much continuity prior to this. It's brand new continuity, a brand new story, and just starting out from day one. So I was impressed. Like I said, the art in this book, you felt like you were watching the cartoon. Very impressed with the art. If you have a chance to own the books, do it. They're definitely worth money. I'm not going to be able to compare it to other G.I. Joe versus Transformer stories. From what I understand, I've talked to a couple people. This one is one of the better ones. The Marvel one, I've heard a couple different things on that one. Can't say that I know too much about any of the other ones. I know there's a G.I. Joe Transformers 2 that came out. And the covers, folks, to these books, very 2000-ish, I guess I would say, where you open up the cover, the front and the back are one big poster coverage. That was one of the awesome things to check out. Beautiful art. Let me give you an idea who the other inker was. Issue 6 inker was a guy by the name of Corey Hampshire. Link Studio still doing the colors. It came together very nice. That's pretty much all I have to say about it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Like I said, if you're a fan of the toy line or the cartoon, you're going to be impressed with this either way. and they did a good job. Definitely Josh Blaylock did a great job putting the story together. That's a believable story. And they leave it, of course, open-ended so we can come back and revisit it later. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's much else I want to say about it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, go out and buy it if you can. I guess on my way out here, this next exiting part here that we're going to play, not very long. I think it's, let me see, only about 2 minutes. A little bit of the story behind this, okay? Now, as a kid growing up, you guys watched the G.I. Joe. If you watched the G.I. Joe show, you knew about the PSAs, the public service announcements at the end of each episode. Well, YouTube, some folks that got a hold of the PSAs and have brought us a few different versions of PSAs, and they are a little close to my heart. So I'm going to play these. You guys will probably have no idea what I'm talking about and what these PSAs are talking about. But these aren't your regular G.I. Joe PSA. However, they mean a lot to me, and they mean a lot to a few other people out there that I know. So I thought I want to go ahead and end it with some of those signature YouTube G.I. Joe PSAs that I found. I want to wish you all the best. I'll talk to you here probably within the next couple weeks. Take care of yourselves. Have a good one.
Oh, man, check out that thing, man.
What do you want to do with it?
Let's launch over it.
Who wants a body massage?
What did he just say to us?
Low. Mr. Body Massage Machine. Go.
What the hell?
Body massage.
G.I. Joe!
You're not cooking. Yeah, dude.
Pork chop sandwiches. Oh, shit! Get the fuck out of here! What are you doing? Go! Get the fuck out of here, you stupid idiot! Fuck, we're all dead! Get the fuck out!
My God, did that smell good.
Detective, this is no going, and you tell me do things. I done running.
G.I. Joe!
Said you won't touch that button, bitch. Check it out.
Hey, guys. It's funny. These people, they go to sleep. They think everything's fine, everything's good. They wake up the next day and they're on fire.
G.I. Joe!
Fucking old school.
Damn! These beats are so fresh. Snap!
G.I. Joe!
Thank you very much for joining us. Do not forget to subscribe to our new home by punching in W2M Network on just about any podcast platform to get all of our content into your audio feed. Also, give a like to the Rattleich in Broadcasting Network and W2Mnet.com Facebook page in order to stay on top of everything that we have to offer. If you'd like to follow the Source Material Podcast on social media, just follow @SourceMattCast on Twitter, and we are on Facebook @Source Material Comics Podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, please feel free to share. We look forward to entertaining you again soon.